I think that what we have to do to create sustainable communities is, first of all, have leadership in the public policy area. And I mean that in terms of leadership in government, but also leadership in business and industry. In addition to that, often the initiative for some sustainable communities has been coming more recently from colleges and universities, where people are trying to have an educational environment and practice what they preach in the classroom right there on the college campus. So it's a process of really getting different groups of people together to get them to agree, come up with some kind of a vision that they want to try to implement, and then really do it. I've heard so much talk about this. Enough already. Let's get these communities. There's so many examples from all over the world, as like from my books and other things, and it's just something we have to do. Well, I think that everybody needs to realize that climate change does affect us all personally. It affects us in our daily lives, it affects us in our health, it affects us in the future, and it affects the future generations. It affects my children, your children, our grandchildren, and children's children. But the fact is, it's not just those future generations, it's today. But the issue is there are people getting ill from the air that they breathe, from even the water that they drink. We have to realize that on an individual basis, we are all impacted by what's going on in our climate negatively. So we have to take measures about it. We have to do things like turning off electricity or lights when we don't need it. We have to be very mindful of what we do in our daily lives in terms of recycling and other things. And we have to teach our children about it. In fact, many of our children are now teaching us about climate change issues. Our little kids are telling us, turn off the light, Dad and Mom, don't leave that light on while we go out to dinner, And that's important. I think that we have to do is realize that it starts in our homes. All right, let me try to frame it first, okay? I very strongly believe that actually a lot of issues and areas in the sustainable community, this whole paradigm, is part of what a colleague of mine, Jeremy Rifkin, talks about as the third industrial revolution. And here in Europe, you're doing it. I have a book coming out by that topic on purpose because I think it's important that we in America realize while we're doing some of it, we're really behind. And there are a lot of things that are going on here in Europe and also in Asia, in Japan and China and South Korea. And in America, we're still trying to get there, frankly. There are some really good examples of where this is happening, and there are cities and communities. In one of my books, I talk about the city of San Francisco and the city of Santa Monica, but they're not totally into it. They're just beginning. Meanwhile, in my book, I have examples coming from Denmark and also from northern Italy of communities and regions that are becoming sustainable because they're looking at the need to integrate their systems to be able to transform their entire region, if you will, not just this small town or the road or the building that they live in or work in. Well, it's a topic of great concern to me because my view, and I'm not alone in this, and I mentioned Rifkin and here in Europe as well, is that we're going to have an era of where the combustion engine, internal combustion engine, is going to be a thing of the past. So what we're seeing now is all electric cars coming to the marketplace, but they've got all kinds of problems. There is still no solution to the fact that it takes hours to recharge your electric car. So the other next thing that's happening now is hydrogen fuel cell cars. And as long as we get the hydrogen from renewable energy sources, be it the electrons from solar and wind, or also from water, as long as we get it from those renewable sources and not from natural gas or nuclear power someplace else, then it's really a very positive thing. But the other part of it, the fuel cell, is not an internal combustion engine. It doesn't have all these moving parts. It's basically an electrolysis, electrical system that produces and provides for running a car, for example. And so we need to have highways that can provide for these hydrogen fuel cell cars that have refueling areas along them, that are similar to what we have now on highways, is that in order to do this, you've got to have a collaboration, a partnership between government and the private sector. You can't just simply say you're going to have a hydrogen highway or in this new innovation that's so dramatic in terms of infrastructures and leave it all to the private sector. They can't do that. They never have done it historically. They certainly can't do it today. You've got to have a collaboration with everybody.